Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. This is your host, David McCaig Jr., and we are starting off the show with an absolute bang. So special. And it's the Chuck-a-Puck segment. And as I say every week, as the Chuck-a-Puck is just above me here, I'm pointing at it if you're on video. I no longer throw the puck. Trudes knows why. And this guest also could probably put the pieces together why. Because when you sell a house, you don't want to start pucking up the walls. Pucking up the walls, like I said. I want to make sure that rewind. I said pucking. Now, nonetheless, I am joined on Chuck-a-Puck by my co-host, Jordan Trudeau. Trudes, my friend, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, Dave. How are you? Man. Well, a little sick right now.
You know what?
Other than that,
it's good, right? Honestly, the flu is going around still. It's April, and it's still snow on the ground, a feet amount of snow out there. It is ridiculous. But now, for this week on Chuck-a-Puck, we are joined and graced by the presence of not only my friend, okay, but also someone who is a scout in the local area, someone who is well involved in the area of hockey. He's played hockey in the junior level for the Sioux Thunderbirds. He's obviously a teammate of mine on our Mayor's Open team that just had a very devastating loss yesterday, but at the time that we're recording this, the one, the only, Jaren Bellini. Bells, my friend, your debut here on the game. You're a guest today on Chuck-a-Puck. How you doing, my friend? How you feeling?
Great. It's good to finally get on after a few years here now, and yeah, I've been following along.
Yeah, you know what?
Sure.
Honestly, Chuck-a-Puck's been great. It's had a great reaction in the community. Obviously, the show has been around a long time, but nonetheless, you know, it's great. I know you follow along, and I know there's another good mutual friend of ours, Mike Fabro, who's been on this show. Obviously, we've had his content on this show, but we've been waiting to get you on. So very excited to have you on this week. And this is segment 1 of the Game Sports Podcast. Going to do my usual shout outs here. The Game Sports Podcast is powered by 91 Network. It's also featured on Spaces, which is through Sioux Today and Village Media. You can follow us online anywhere, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. That's at the Game Sports Podcast. And you can also check us out on Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Look, just search the Game Sports Podcast and you will find us. We are there, okay? So make sure you give us a like, a follow, and a subscribe for that. And obviously, we're going to get into a lot this show. We got here on segment 1 with Chuck-a-Puck, going to get into the Ontario Hockey League updates, but ultimately centering the segment around Bell's picks. I'm going to patent that. The second thing that we are going to get into is our top shelf segment. And our top shelf segment, we're going to get into around the NHL, in particular, Alex Ovechkin doing Alex Ovechkin things. And then to top off the show, it's going to actually be me and Trudes going to have a reaction to the Vlad Guerrero signing and some updates around the MLB. So lots going on this show. So let's get into it because time is of the essence, my friends. And Trudes, we're going to save some of the OHL reaction till the end. And we're going to focus on what is big this week. And we're going to center it and put the pressure on Jaren, who's our guest this week, someone who has all the information that we need. And I will put the link of his picks that is on Elite Prospects that you can follow be in the description of the show bottom below for you to click and to see and react to. But Bells, the draft is this week. Hounds are obviously picking 7th. There's teams that are obviously picking 1, 2, 3. There's teams out of the Hounds picking. What are you seeing? What are you liking for this year's draft based on what you have been seeing out in the hockey world?
Yeah, there's definitely, a lot of good talent. Like some of these kids are so skilled now. I got the chance to watch them at the OHL Cup. It was it was a great tournament. Honestly, a good tournament to go to for all any fan on the game. I see a lot of good talent there. As far as this year's draft, I think it's very forward heavy. There's not a lot of D. Like there's like a clear cut D that's, one of the top picks, but I'm not finding that this year. So I feel like, there's probably there's 2 different ways that the Hounds can go, I think, in this year's draft. First of all, like Kyle Raftis and management team has done a great job, I find, just developing the 2007, 2008 group just to move forward in their rebuild. And even this year, making the playoffs was pretty good for them, considering their spot in the league right now. Yeah, just a lot of good talent. I think if I were the Hounds in the first round, I would take Brock Chitteroni, a local kid, played his local hockey here. I have him around 6, and hopefully he falls. I've seen him as early as 3 lately, just in the Twitter in the Twitter sphere. Twitter sphere, yeah, whatever, yeah. X sphere, yeah. Yeah, he's listed as 5'8", but I think he's around 6 feet now. I think he's got to be 6 feet, 180-ish. He's built. He trains with a guy I know, Tyson Mount, in the summer. So, and I know he's well taken care of. So I would take him. If he doesn't fall that far, I really like number 7, that Noah Laus. He's just an all-around player, left shot. I feel like he can really fill the void of Owen Allard in a couple of years. Yeah, that would be my pick for the first. I'd go forward first. I know the D. That's the other thing is like the one of two ways they can pick a D and know they're probably getting the best D in the draft, but obviously it's pretty forward heavy. So I would go forward first.
It seems like that's, like you said, you mentioned it on your picks there. And I know you and I talked about it, Bells, when we were upstairs about the forward being heavy. And I think obviously at 10, you have Lucas Nutting as the guy who seems to be the first defenseman on the list, who plays in Elgin, Canucks U16 trade. And honestly, when I see like a forward heavy draft, I think is that as an opportunity. But some people may look at it to be like, look, if I have the 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th pick, I might be tempted to take the best defenseman in the draft, right? Because where else am I going to get a defenseman, right? You can scroll down to 17. You have Caden Bell there. You can scroll down Jack Johnson. I wonder if there's any relation. But that aside, I think it's very fair. Like Brock Chidoroni being that local product, striving for local, and overall, you've just being a good hockey player. Like it seems like a good pick. Trudes, I know yourself, you've been really focused on the draft on your end. Well, how do you feel about Bell's picks? First off, react, be that open. But number 2, who do you like the Hounds picking at 7?
I like Brock Chidoroni as well if he's there. I think that's the obvious choice if he falls to 7 because, I mean, for one, he's going to report, you know that, and he definitely has the skill to be a high elite player in the OHL. Noah Laus, I can't see his statistics. That would be all that I could get. I also know that a lot of people are high on Ryerson Edgar as well, and he's at 8. So I know Kyle Raftis is picking the best player available mentality. So I think if it's forward heavy, we'll probably see 2 forwards in the draft taken in the first round.
So Bells, if I put you on the spot, I know a lot of people have been torn about Warren and McGregor, right? 1, 2. Who's the true best guy? I know on your picks, you got McGregor at 2. Obviously, you played the Ottawa Valley Titans. U16 was McGregor, and obviously Warren plays for the Toronto Patriots. Why did you put Warren at 1 and McGregor at 2? What was your thought around that?
I think that's more of a personal thing because ever since I made this list, it's like everyone's like, oh, McGregor first. Like he's more well-rounded, I guess you could say. Warren's not the most physical guy, but who he reminds me of. It's a very, like, obviously it's a very good comparison is Connor Bedard. Like he's a smaller, kind of, I guess, a wider kind of stature. He's powerful skater, great shot, kind of someone like that. That's just why I had him first, and he ended up, I think he might have been the leading scorer of the tournament, the OHL Cup. I'm not 100% on that, but I know he was MVP. So, but that McGregor is a great hockey player as well too. Like either one of them, I believe can go number 1.
Do you think there's anyone on the picks, like obviously middle rounds later, that have maybe surprised and worked their way up in the year from being a 2nd, 3rd round projection earlier in the year, but now maybe made their way to first round? Or do you see someone who could be a sleeper in that first round that could really make an impact? Do you have any names for us for that?
That's the thing. Like I feel like this one's so up in the air. It's like the Hounds have a great opportunity here with a 7th overall pick, and then I think what is the 17th or 19, yeah. So even if they pick a defenseman at 19, they're getting a good hockey player. It's still a first rounder. So I think no matter where, like even if they jumped up from the 2nd, 3rd round throughout the year, they're still going to be a good player. Like there's definitely a lot of parity in this year's draft.
There is, and I've said this openly. I'm a guy who likes size. If I was a general manager, that would be really appealing to me. If someone can skate and be big, defenseman and a forward, I think that's something that's almost a lost art nowadays. And people think that that's a crazy remark because look at Matthew Nyes, look at these guys that are big power forwards. But you're starting to see a lot more of that finesse, that speed, that forward goal scoring mentality. It's not like when we played, Jaren, and the NOHA days, okay, where when you go in the corner, you had to hear you heard footsteps. You knew you were going to get rocked in the corner. Not saying they don't hit now, they do, but it's a lot different. The mentality's different. And I think you're seeing that on the forefront now is more of that smaller. I say smaller by being 5'11". I'm 5'11". I think I would be considered on the average smaller end, right? 5'10", 5'11". Bells, I think you're 5'9". I think around there. So like, obviously, you know, the big power forward is something that really is appealing to me. But I had McGregor, to be transparent, at 1 all year. But I think you bring up a very interesting point with Warren being at 1. Trudes, what do you feel between the 1 and 2? Because I know that's going to be an argument. I've heard a lot of McGregor. I've heard some people say Warren. And, you know, another name that I've heard that could be a number 3 pick is Max Delisle. And I know he's down as 5 for yourself. Was another name that I heard was Max. But Trudes, where are you falling between Warren and McGregor?
Well, I haven't really looked at them because there wasn't a very good chance of the Greyhounds grabbing them. But I know Peterborough has the first pick. So, I mean, I don't know who has the second. I mean, I guess it really depends on who has what pick. I can't remember. I looked at it, but I think Cade McGregor is rumored to go first. So among the Xverse, Twitterverse, and OHL, like the social media. So, I mean, I guess McGregor has the size on him right now, right? I know that could change. Obviously, that could change, but I don't really have a preference. I think you're getting an elite player either way. I mean, you have a top 2 pick. You're going to be in a contention, I mean, at least the year after next. So, yeah.
Peterborough can't go wrong with these picks. But Bells, how about any more in terms of your list that stands out to you that you want to share, that you put a lot of work and effort into this list? So definitely get into what you want to share more with our listeners and viewers here, my friend.
Yeah, no, I guess just back to your point about having a big D, I'm on your side with that too. It's like you and I both know, and Trudes knows too, it's like playing against a bigger player with a long reach, like that's tough. And just looking at just the Hounds in general, it's like right now they have some big D, like they have more like built Ds, like maybe 5'10", like the Holubs, the Gillens, and then they have Carlisle, who's, you know, he's graduating this year, and he's I think he's the second or third, you know, biggest D on the team.
Yeah,
I feel like that,
right? Like I think
Chase, yeah, exactly. So I think that's what you use your second pick in the first round on is a bigger D, preferably probably a left shot to replace Carlisle. Yeah, it's tough. I know there's a few good D on this list, like that around that range, but I think you're more so going to find someone kind of falling in your lap more so at the 3rd round, 4th round.
Yeah.
And
you know what? And that's the beauty of these drafts. And Trudes, just to kind of round out the top 5, you got Peterborough, you got Guelph, you got Ottawa, Sarnia, and Owen Sound. So Guelph is picking 2, right? And I think Guelph is a team that we might be competing for when it comes to that 2027 Memorial Cup, right? So what I like in these drafts is how those late picks can turn out to be those gems a lot more in the Ontario Hockey League. Not that any other league, NHL can be the same way, WHL, it all can happen. Because late bloomers, some people get better with age, and when you get drafted, maybe it changes that player's mindset. Hey, maybe I liked playing baseball in the summer. I played both sports, but now I like playing hockey. I want to focus on this, and they have a late bloom, right? That's the beauty about this draft. You got to really, it's not hitting on the first round. And I always refer back to the Nick Cousins and Daniel Catanacci draft. So that Dan Catanacci goes 1, Cousins went later. Who had the better OHL career, right? It doesn't really matter where you go, okay, unless your name's Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard, John Tavares, right? These are guys that have had exceptional careers and were granted exceptional status for a reason. So it doesn't matter. I love the first round. I hope you can get a slam dunk player. You're definitely getting a good player in that first round. There's no doubt. But those middle rounds are what's really going to stand out to me and really see what works for not just the Hounds, but all the teams in the OHL. Right. So I can't think of names top of my head who went 5th, 6th, 7th rounds that have really stood out for the Hounds. Sorry to Hound fans or sorry to OHL fans. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I can pull names out of the air right now, but it's obvious in the OHL and in these junior drafts where you can get those diamond in the roughs later. You know, and there was one guy, Bells, that was mentioned to me that was way out of left field when I was upstairs. And it was somebody that I won't name because I didn't ask permission. I'll be polite. But one guy that has stuck out that went to my name was Miles Ginman. You have him at 88, which seems like the right pick. But we want to speak about guys that could be diamonds in the rough. That was one guy. I was thinking he was a diamond in the rough because how cool his name was. Okay. Miles Ginman. Okay. But when you're looking at this kid, 5'8", 173. Okay. Small guy. But what made him fast? They thought they might be one of the fastest players in the draft. So when I hear speed, I hear potential. So that's one guy that I'll say from what I've heard in the social world of talking, that could be one guy who could be a steal down the road. I wonder if we're going to be talking about him down the road.
Yeah, no, so he was one guy. So he played in the OHL Cup for the team that was made up of the American players that were still in the OHL draft kind of area. But he was someone who was like, so like his skating just like kind of stood out to me. Like he was more of like a flashy player. He was like more of those standout guys, like right away that you see is like, oh, who is that guy? Like the only thing is like his size. Yeah, definitely could affect it. But I can definitely see him going higher than 88. But he can definitely, he can fly out there, and he definitely has the skill.
Yeah, your list is great.
So he's from Smiths too. That's kind of cool. He's from overseas. I don't know if he was born there or if his mom or dad is from there. Late round picks have been better for the Greyhounds as of late than their higher round picks. So you see a lot of jet, like Morgan Frost was the fourth rounder.
Thank you for getting the name for me.
Liam Howell was their first rounder that year. I mean, it all just depends. Development isn't linear. Like it just depends on who hits the major junior level and like who could hang with it and whose game kind of stays the same. But I'm definitely excited to see who the Greyhounds pick up. I've heard a name that's been around the rinks. That's been like, he's probably not on your list, Bells, but Trevor Daley Jr. is playing in Florida.
Yeah.
And
let's go.
He has signed with USNDP, but I know it's been mentioned on the Greyhounds fan page. A lot of people around the rink have mentioned it. He might be a possible first or second rounder if the Greyhounds deem him that good and he's willing to report. So
yeah.
My wild card, I know Dave, you kind of went with a wild card. I'm going to bring that wild card on behalf of
Trevor Daley Jr. and Miles Ginman, pulling out some great names out of this hat right now. Love it.
Yeah.
Bells, like this list is great, dude. Great work.
Yeah,
a lot of work goes into that. You guys, so Team NOHA, right? That's the scouts, the scouting that where you do for, right? And that's where, yeah. So you have seen programs, you've traveled. I'm going to put you on the spot, and if you don't want to answer, you can tell me you don't want to answer. But the best developmental program that you've seen, Don Mills or some, right? Toronto has good ones. Like there's a lot of good ones you can pull. I know maybe there's too many to pull, but is there one program that stands out to you that makes you go, hey, that player played for that program. I want to look extra because they played for that program.
That's actually a really good question, because definitely programs, if they produce these players year after year, it's like, okay, they're doing something right. That's for sure. I know just from when I was playing, I know like the Toronto Marlboros were the best. Like they always seem to produce those players year after year. This year there was a few good teams, like Don Mills was good. The junior Canadians were good. As far as the U.S., I know that Little Caesars program is always fantastic. Yeah. Other than that, that's all I can really think of right now. But
let me pull one out of the hat. Sioux North Stars program back in the day, buddy. Sioux North Stars program. When the Sioux used to dominate. Sorry, I'm not chirping that they don't now, but I'm talking then. I'm not talking now. Then domination was the middle name of the Sioux North Stars program, okay? But that stood out, you said Marlboros, right? That's one. Little Caesars has always, and one other program that always sticks out to me, Honey Baked. The Honey Baked program, right? But again, I'm referring to the States. If you want to go to Canada, Don Mills, Toronto, those have always been Vaughan, right? Yeah. Those have been the areas. And hopefully the Sioux can get to that point once more.
Yeah.
So due to time, boys, I don't know if we're going to have time to dive into the playoff reaction too much, but Bells, before I do I do want to do something quick about the playoffs. So before we wrap up, Bells, any other final points you want to bring up to the listeners or viewers that we didn't touch on in regards to the NHL draft? Nope, that's not for a while. The OHL draft coming up this weekend.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Like, I agree with Trudeau's his wild card for sure. I was waiting for that point to come up with Trevor Daley. I didn't put him in the list because just because of the NDP program, and I didn't put any of those players in that list just due to that. But I would definitely have him probably early in the first round. That's what I heard. He could be taken. He's that good. I've never seen him play personally, but
that's good. Trudes, any final thoughts from the draft that you want to bring up?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. And if you read Peter Ricci's article, like he interviewed Kyle Raftis, he may even try to snag a second from somebody. Like he might try and do a little draft pick swing where he trades a later, like a second rounder from down the road, 2027, 2028 to snag one this year. Like who knows what he has in mind, but I think the pressure's on for this one because you got to build around your 07 either with players that you can use as trade capital or as players you want to surround Brady Martin, Travis Hayes, Chase Reed. And I think yeah, you this is an important one. This is a big one. You got to hit on this one.
There were a lot of Greyhound scouts at the OHL Cup. I'll put it that way. Definitely, probably more than any team.
Good.
Actually.
That's good to hear. And you know what? One player that I'm really loving a whole bunch, and I think it's an obvious go, and I've said this on the show before, is I'm a big Chase Reed fan. That kid, okay? That's how good. Yeah. Okay, I'm telling you right now, that is the guy that I highlight them. Brady Martin, yes, okay? Like, I'm concerned about Brady Martin leaving the Hounds before 2027. If he goes first round this year and makes a Pittsburgh lineup, early prediction, I think he's going to Pittsburgh. Obvious reasons why. But Chase Reed, I think, is someone you can look at really building around. You got guys there, I think, when I hear Chase Reed, I see it. That's
you got to comment. Well, 7th rounder, Dave. There you go.
Hey,
I mean, the position he was taken on was because of his his commitment to the NCAA, of course, at the time. So they got him a bit of a discount, but still,
He's here. So before we wrap up, Bells, thank you for Bell's picks. I'm going to try to do a little flashy thing and give that a thing. I want your reaction, both of you, is very quick about the Hounds' short playoff run. And a second piece, what you're looking forward to in the upcoming rounds for the OHL playoffs. Trudes, I'll go to you first.
All right. Well, I mean, I had a lot to say about this. Obviously, time constraints. I'll give you the little gist. Obviously, if we're going to talk about this series, you're going to talk mostly about Windsor. 5% of their point production from this series came from that first line. Morneau, Protas, Greentree, which we talked a lot about, Dave. You got to shut them down to beat them. They couldn't. They didn't. They started to near the end of the series, but I mean, they proved themselves as a high-powered offense.
Too good.
And without some key players in the lineup too. So full props to Windsor. Their goalie played great. They proved themselves to be a powerhouse. As for the Greyhounds, I thought Travis Hayes really led the way in the forward department. I thought he was consistent all series. He was strong physically, definitely impressive given how big of a team Windsor is. And he scored 3 times. He was very noticeable on the ice. I know Bell's mentioned him earlier, but Owen Allard, he had a rough year, but I thought he played some of his best hockey in a Greyhound uniform in the playoffs. And without that line of him, Nord, and Brady R. Smith, they don't win Game 3 and avoid a sweep. So as for that series, I think it was what everybody expected it to be. So there were no shocks there. And as for my prediction, I think it's going to be 4 tough series because even London, Erie has beat them twice this year. So, and once at home. So they may have something figured out there, but from here on out, it's 8 strong teams. There's a lot of parity there, but I like Oshawa out of the East. I think they have a really strong defense core, and they have quite a few threats up front. So great goalie as well. So I like them to win the East. That. And then my pick in the West.
Predictions there for who we think is going to win what. Bells, how about your thoughts for those 2 points?
Yeah, I thought, just to back Trudes, it was a good series. It was exactly what we thought it would go. 5 games. I thought it was going to be 5 or 6 games, but the Hounds, they gave it their all and ran into some penalty trouble in that
good
last
point.
game.
There it is.
And there was a couple, even in the first couple of games, it seemed like, the game got out of hand, but it was only because Windsor got maybe two quick ones in a row, and then it just kind of spiraled from there. So I don't think the scores were really indicative of what the series outcome was. It was a lot closer than that. But yeah, I thought they put up a good fight, and I was happy that they won Game 3, I think, at home. So yeah, I thought it was a good series, and really wish Windsor all the best, because it would be nice to see them go through after beating
100%.
us.
Do you have any predictions for this round overall in terms of something different? Is London still the juggernaut?
Yeah. I think so. I watched them this year, and they're a powerhouse.
So I'll keep it quick too, guys.
Yeah.
The Sioux Greyhounds, I thought it would go 6. Would have been nice to see that extra step, but they were tough. Lost 2 quick ones on the road. Very, very, very appealing losses on the Windsor side. Convincing wins by Windsor on both those games. They were the better team on paper, on the ice, but this was a Greyhound team that fought at the end, showed their integrity. They were pesky. This is still a team that won a game against Windsor. It was still that extra playoff game that's pivotal for their experience. The Hounds had overall a great year. I don't think it was an overachieving year by any means, but I think they still exceeded expectations to a degree given what they did. And to play 7th and to have that extra playoff game is great for their experience. Excited to see what next year brings. Look, second point to my own question. London's going undefeated this whole playoff, Trudes. I'm sorry. We're going to see it. I'm calling it now. I might be wrong by tomorrow. And that's fine, but at least I said it on April 9th at 5:45 p.m. I said right now that London's going undefeated this playoff run. We're going to see something that is unbelievable. London is too big of a juggernaut. My friend, thank you for taking the time. Bell's picks. Link will be below in the description for his top 100 for this upcoming weekend's draft. Bell's finally got on. We'll have to get you on more, of course. But thanks for taking the time, dude.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it.
100%.
Thanks, guys.
Trudes, I know you're going to be talking baseball with me, but I want to say thank you, as always, with Chuck a Puck. Chuck a Puck is not done. I want to make sure I let everyone know that we are going to have sporadic episodes throughout the summer as things happen. And for local stuff, we're going to do stuff for Chuck a Puck. But obviously, we'll get back to, we're not going to be maybe on a weekly routine, just so everybody knows. Obviously, we'll be back next week because of reaction with the draft and OHL Playoffs still going on. Okay, but once OHL Playoffs are done and we start hitting the off season, we'll be on more of a bi-weekly type thing, or as news happens, in particular for the Sioux Greyhounds. So next year, though, we got a lot of plans for this segment, so we're excited about that. Trudes, I want to say thank you, though, my friend. Talk soon.
Yeah, thanks,
awesome.
Dave.
This has been Chuck a Puck. Segment 2 coming up. Top shelf. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. David McCaig Jr. to host you this evening. I forgot to say on my opening segment, I got to make sure that I promote this. Fight Stories Trevor Gillies t-shirt. Friend of the show, Trevor Gillies, previous guest, saw this in the closet, got it on it, probably going to tag him in it, so a good little share would be nice, Trevor, if you feel like it. But nonetheless, great shirt. Got the skull and the helmet on it. It's really cool. Great shirt overall. I know he has them for sale. I think he still does. But nonetheless, shout out to Trevor Gillies. But I am joined here on Top Shelf by Brendan McCarthy and Alex Parr. I'm going to go first to the cart because that's what I call him every week now. Okay, Cart, how you doing, my friend?
The cart, eh? You know what? I actually was just firing up the Wii earlier, and I do have Mario Kart available. Could be an option for later tonight in between Leafs Tampa intermission. You never know.
Never know. And tonight, April the 9th, we're pre-recording before the Tampa-Toronto game. Very big game. And too bad Mario Kart can't be online. I would love to do that online with people. I feel like that'd be a blast.
This is just like the OG, 2007 Nintendo Wii. But, boys, tell me a better month on the sports calendar, and I will tell you you're probably wrong. Does anything rival April?
Nothing. You got March Madness. You got hockey playoffs around the corner. Baseball started. Right? You got, and basketball, if you're a big fan of basketball, I still obviously overall, not because of March Madness, because of the NBA. There's a lot to watch. A lot
WrestleMania.
of Whoa! Drop that. I forgot about that.
I think maybe October could be a close second on the podium, but just because all 4 major sports coincide. I mean, it's rare, but the sports equinox, it does happen. Yeah. But I think April, obviously the Masters starts tomorrow.
I forgot about the Masters too.
It's just if you're a sports fan, man, you're eating cake. It's just a dream.
I gotta watch Eating Cake. Okay. All right. That's what's going on. All right. Now I am joined by Alex Parr. Parr, I'll say hi to you first before I pop up my surprise. My friend, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. How's everybody doing at home? Are you guys doing well too?
I'm good.
Hell yeah.
You're on the go, Parr? Mr. Purelator?
Mr. Purelator. Damn. I like that. And we had a good weekend of playing video games, Parr and I. That happened.
Yeah, it was.
There you go.
We played video games. Is it?
Sick invite, guys.
Oh, you have a PS5?
You PS5 guy?
No, I don't actually, but I didn't know what you guys were playing.
There you go.
What do you
All
have
right,
for
now
system?
the surprise before we get into the content. I have something in my hand that I'm going to see if Parr recognizes. And wow, that sounded very
What
wrong.
are you getting at here, Dave?
Love it.
Those
Wow.
are Tim
What a deck.
Hortons. Those are Tim Hortons cards right there.
Yes, but whose cards are they?
Are those mine?
These are your cards
Dude,
from the
sell 'em.
Sioux Area Hospital. There is Doug Gilmore, Marcel Dion, friend of the show.
Whoa. Haley Wickenheiser. Is there a Haley Wickenheiser in there?
I will have.
At the time I pulled it, it was worth about $100. So there it is. That's my gift to you.
Oh, there's Sarah Valancourt. You got. I haven't even looked through all of them. You got a lot. You got Marcel Dion, friend of the show. Marcel Dion, we've had him on the show. Dougie Gilmore, Bobby Clark, Becky Keller, Kevin Lowe, Carolyn Ouellette. Oh, you got Dale Howarchuk. Oh my goodness.
Sell the deck.
Sell
GG incoming.
Megan Acosta stand. Oh my God. There's Patrick Waugh lifting
Buddy,
the cup.
We're on to the Pokemon now. We've grown up.
Is this the Wickenheiser card you're looking for?
Yeah, that is. That's worth about $100. But we're on to Pokemon now, fellas. Look at this. Look at all these.
Sell it. Sell it all.
Yeah, really. But Parr, I was gonna purulate these to you, my friend, because these are yours, dude. All those cards.
Nope, they're yours. If I cared enough, I would have kept them. So do something cool with them. Do a giveaway or something on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, there you go. I thought that'd be a good trip down memory lane for you.
That was cool, yeah.
Nonetheless, I thought I would share that. Okay, fellas, let's get into the content. We are getting into the meat and the potatoes of the NHL season even further. I think we're starting to finish off the dish because the playoffs are just around the corner. And the races, they're getting tight. They're getting exciting. They're getting all the things. And the players and the teams, that aren't making it, they're done. See you later. Boston, not saying anything, but haha. The Boston Bruins aren't in. Okay, obviously it's looking a little bit bleak if you're a Vancouver fan, unless you came back last night from a 3-goal
That was insane.
in a minute left. Unbelievable. Anything can happen in this final about handful of games of the season. Brandon, I'm excited. I want to leave it there and pass it on to you right from there. I'm just excited about everything.
I am too, man. Like, the Atlantic is an absolute dogfight right now, as you mentioned earlier. Like, we are recording this April the 9th, so just before the Leafs and Lightning dropped the puck, the second of a back-to-back for Toronto. But man, like, I just think if you're a Toronto fan, you have to avoid the Panthers at all costs in round one. You're gonna have to face them at some point. And I know earlier I'm on record to say that perhaps they'd want Tampa. Obviously, they're heating up right now. I think at the end of the day, just because they haven't been in the playoffs since 17. And yeah, I get it. I was trying to play devil's advocate there, pure later prior. But it's more just because, you know what, like, Florida, we know what they bring. Obviously, they're trying to go to the Cup final for the third straight year. But Toronto has proved that they can dance with Tampa. Sometimes it's like the Leafs almost need a good team to play their best. They almost kind of like, look over their opponent if they're weak, like they did in 2021 with Montreal. So that was more my point. But I guess at this point, yeah, Battle of Florida, have them beat up on each other and the Leafs play Ottawa. Don't think it's going to be a walk, but they probably have a better chance just because, okay, this is, their 8th, 9th straight playoff appearance in the Matthews Marner era. So they have more experience in the playoffs. But I mean, last time Ottawa was in it, Mark Stone was, carrying the crew. So I just think if you avoid Florida in the first round, that's a win. The Panthers.
And I'll say before I go to you, Parr, I've said Tampa over Ottawa because of the regular season success Ottawa's had over Toronto, and just because that's what fears me as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan about that series potentially. and because Toronto has defeated Tampa. And that's where my mindset goes with that. And
Right.
Florida Panthers avoiding them, we know that already. And I think you are going to avoid Florida. Maybe not, because depending on what happens in these next couple games, right? You might avoid Tampa. You got to win the division. Unless Ottawa passes Florida and Florida goes down, which I don't foresee, but you never know. That's what makes it interesting. How do you want to do this? Right? Let's say you're in the final game of the season. At this time of recording, Tampa and Toronto are at 77. They're going to both be at 78 at the time that we're upload this show. And then you got 4 games left. Someone's winning that game, getting 2 points. Someone might get 1 if it goes into overtime. So if that happens, you're going to have 2 people at 98, maybe 1 at 99, 98, or 1 at 100 and 1 at 96. Given that, you're not clinching first in the division, but you're going to get some room in there, right? But if Florida loses their next game, Ottawa wins, it gets interesting. You start getting to the end. Right?
They're all separated by 2 points, those 4 teams.
81 games. Florida is behind Ottawa, and Toronto is at 81 games, and they have a chance to pass to win the division. But you get Ottawa in the first round. Are you throwing that last game? I can't believe I'm throwing that out there, right? I'm saying you keep going, pedal to the metal, and whoever the hell that you play, you got to win because you're going to have to play them anyways. So who gives a shit, right, at the end of the day?
Fair enough. And for Toronto, they should have that mentality. It's like, if you want to go and reach a conference final, you got to be the best. You got to beat the best, right? So just at some point, it's like, just give it to me, right? But I mean,
give me Winnipeg,
and Florida,
I don't care.
Toronto and Florida last night, and then we'll get to Parr. Sorry, Parr. Toronto and Florida last night, they were clearly, the Panthers, that is, they were clearly like mailing it in, right? Like, they're just, that guy's got a sore neck. That guy's got a hangnail. He's out. Like, they were trying to mail it in. And then you're watching Toronto play, and they're like, they didn't really have any juice last night. And everyone's like, see, this is why. I'm like, no, I think Toronto is reading the headlines. Like, they were also like, we're just going to kind of shift gears and go down a bit. Maybe tonight against Tampa we'll bring it. I expect a different team in terms of their style and pace tonight. But I think Toronto bought into the headlines because, like you said, Dave, like, Ottawa could take that. Sorry,
third spot.
Florida could drop to the wild card 1, and then Ottawa could come to the 3rd spot. So it's all kind of it's going to be a dogfight in the end here.
Honestly,
Parr.
Brendan, you had no reason to apologize. Take your time, say whatever you need to say, because you said at the start of this segment what I've been saying for weeks. Why the hell are we scared of the Ottawa Senators? Look at all of these other options. I said that weeks ago, and you're like, no, I don't know, guys. Like, it's Ottawa, they could play down. No, obviously it's got to be the Senators. Like you said, haven't been in the playoffs since 2017.
It's because they're pesky and they have nothing to lose. So if they walk into that, the Leafs will be playing on their heels and knowing, like, if we win this, you're gonna have to sell the team, basically.
Everyone's gone. Everyone's gone.
Sorry, if we lose this. Yeah, if we lose this.
Unfortunately for the Leafs, no matter what round they're in, the team that's going to give them the hardest time is always there, and it's the team wearing blue and white with a Leafs logo on the middle. Who cares who the opponent is? And right now, hot take maybe, Tampa
and that's all we have tonight, folks.
In the division. Tampa, I think, by far is the best team in the division. Their goal differential
right now, they've been hot. Yeah.
Their goal differential 74. The next closest is Florida with 31. The Leafs are leading the division with 27. That's the worst goal differential of any division leader, and it's not close. The next one's 51. Who cares who they play? It doesn't matter. You should want Ottawa. And now, tonight, I got a big decision to make. If the Leafs beat Tampa tonight, I'm going to buy round 1, game 4 tickets to the Senators game. I live in Ottawa. We've all made note. And I'm banking on the Leafs finishing in first and Ottawa finishing in the wild card. So I am sweating bullets over this game tonight. Ottawa right now, according to Money Puck, has an 89% chance to finish in wild card 1. The Leafs are at a 67% chance to finish division in the lead. And I think if they beat Tampa tonight, it would be enough for me to feel safe at that gamble. Just get some nosebleeds, some cheap seats, but I'm sweating it.
Yo, Hockey Illuminati is licking at the chops this year. Eh? I'm just going to, I know I've seen him on TikTok before he went on Spittin' Chicklets. The guy has some myth busters or curse busters, that are absolute fire, okay? And don't get your hopes up, though, Leaf fans, okay? But they are fire. They're very good. They're very convincing, okay? But if you're a Leaf fan, they're not convincing to a full degree. Now, let's talk about the other divisions quick, fellas, just for time's sake. Obviously, it comes to the Metro. Nah, I'm skipping. Obviously, we're going to talk about a player in the Metro in just a moment. But Western Conference skipping, going to the Central Division, that is top-heavy division. Those three teams in there, what sucks is likely, maybe, unless the top team loses in the first round, but you're going to have one of those three teams are out in the first round, right? That's the crappy thing about the format. But that could happen over in the East, too, if the format was the other way. We talked last week or a couple weeks ago, Brandon, about how the Leafs would be playing Tampa in the first round at that point because they would be 4 and 5. But the Jets, Stars, and Avalanche, oh my goodness. Dare I say, despite having McKinnon and McCarr, despite the Stars having the talent that they have, that I think the placement's correct. I think the Jets are the better team out of the three teams. And there's no Canadian bias to that. It's just that I love how that team is built from top to bottom. And if Hellebuyck can actually put up something in the playoffs, they're not just going to be dangerous. They're going to march their way to the Stanley Cup final. I'm telling you right now, if Hellebuyck can play like Hellebuyck, I think the Jets are built to win. They just have to show up in the playoffs. It's almost like a team that we cheer for if. But that Central Division, the top three teams, oh, baby, it's hard to turn your back against any of those three teams. That's a doozy. That's very comparable to the Atlantic, don't you think, Parr?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't sound convinced.
Yeah, I just feel like you're not giving enough love to the St. Louis Blues, who just got off a 12-game winning streak.
Sure.
I don't know if any team in that division wants to play them right now. Like you say, it's definitely going to be the hardest division to get out of. Yeah, I don't know. Stars are my cup pick, so I don't want to give the Jets too much love just for the sake of being right.
I would agree with Parr with the Stars. I was just going to say that. I think they are all studs. I know last night they absolutely laid an egg, but they clinched a spot. At some point, you kind of just have to get rested up and ready to rock. And that fan base, like in terms of the energy, like every goal, it seems like it's a playoff goal. And I think Dallas could be a serious threat. I have them winning the West as well.
Mm-hmm. I had them going up against the Rangers, though, unfortunately, in the Stanley Cup final. So swung and miss on that one.
But you wanted to
not winning a cup. I'm telling you right now, not winning a cup.
No, I remember we said that. We have that on record from November, I think, Dave.
Yep, he's not winning.
But man, I know you skipped over the Metro, but we can't forget one guy, Mr. Alexander Ovechkin.
Oh, we're gonna talk about him in a second. Someone that, as I pull out the card that Alex left, this stud right here. Before we go to Ovechkin, Pacific Division, hot take. Kings are better than the Oilers.
That's not hot.
Not a hot take. I think at some point they played each other like the last 8 years. At some point, I think the Kings come out on top, and they've worked them pretty well.
Aren't you a Leafs fan? How can you be so sure?
I did say Oilers-Leafs finals. I got to stick to that this year because I said I would do it once more time. One more time, I'm saying that. I said that in my early prediction.
I think I initially said Florida, Edmonton, but I feel like Edmonton's been very quiet this year. They haven't really had a lot of buzz. And at some point, the Kings, it's kind of like Toronto and Tampa, right, in the Atlantic. Like they always play each other. And I think at some point, the Kings, those series have been good. Ultimately, Edmonton has won all of them. The Kings are a good team, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat them.
They're wagon. All right, let's go to Alex Ovechkin. The guy did it, Brendan. You can start it off. Ovechkin gets 895.
This one's going for the socials, all right? The socials. Okay, interesting stat I heard from TSN's Darren Dreger. Out of the 895 goals that Ovechkin scored in his career, 393 came from his office, the left circle. 93.
That's wild.
So if you talk about signature moves in sports, what is the equivalent in all sports to Obi's office? You could have the Dirk one-legged fadeaway, the Randy Johnson slider. What kind of equates or is on the same level with Obi?
Who do you want to go first? Were you thinking? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm thinking like a Patty Mahomes sidearm throw. I'm thinking of like a Steph Curry from in between the logo and the 3-point line.
Curry from the parking lot?
Yeah, basically.
I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the Patty Mahomes sidearm right now, though.
That's a good one.
I like that. My first mind did go to Seth Curry But then I went off the board, and I got to say
Steph Curry.
I was going to say.
Steph Curry.
He's in the media room.
Yeah, Steph Curry. Steph Curry with that absolute no-look walk away, right? Kind of in that corner, the left side. Everyone knows what I'm talking about when I talk about Curry. But my mind first went to the right side of Selena Williams with an absolute rocket on the
Serena?
right side.
Buddy, you're on one tonight.
I am. Selena, oh my God. I am editing.
I'm going to say Selena Gomez or something.
Selena Gomez.
Serena, though. Okay. We got some tennis content.
I'm honest. This is great. Selena, okay. Williams is absolutely hitting that rocket running. Best athlete almost of all time. I've said that in terms of an athlete, she's in my top 5, if not my top 3. Her running in that backhand shot, that's her office. When she gets into that office, and
great picks.
I'm going to go with her. She's definitely
those are great picks. Okay, and then sticking with Ovi boys, his first career goal was against which team and which goalie? I'll give you a hint. The team is in the Metro.
New Jersey, Martin Brodeur.
I'm going to say the Rangers and Kevin Weeks.
Incorrect. You get 3 guesses each, respectively.
3 guesses each.
Well, we better get it then. We better get it if that's the case.
New York Islanders, Rick DiPietro.
That's a good one. The Penguins, Marc-Andre Fleury?
Nope.
That's another very good one.
It's got to be
Carolina Hurricanes, Cam Ward.
Nope. All good guesses, though. You're running out of Metro teams.
Nope.
It's the Blue Jackets. No, it wouldn't have been him. It wouldn't have been Briz, I don't think.
Nope.
No. Not the Flyers? It's the Blue Jackets, and it's Ron Tugnut.
It is Columbus.
Mark Denis is the goalie. I thought Mark Denis. Yeah, it's Columbus, but I would say Mark Denis. Thomas Faucon didn't know. He wouldn't have been there then.
You want the answer?
Yeah.
Pascal Leclerc.
Oh, Canadian.
I never
high draft pick.
there.
Pascal Leclerc was a highly.
And I believe Ovi scored a pair after he scored his first NHL goal. So we had a pair that night on Pascal Leclerc.
Did you know Austin Matthews wasn't in attendance for that goal against Phoenix?
He was, yeah, because he's a big Danny Briere fan, right?
Yeah, that is so cool. That's
I don't think Canadian media would let us ever forget that Austin Matthews was there. I think they don't ask him about that enough.
Yeah. Do you remember when it's like the Chris Farley interview with Paul McCartney?
How about when they asked Matthews if they think he can pass Ovechkin, and the guy just got the freaking record, and Matthews is like, dude,
they've been asking Ovi that question since like 2013, and he's had basically the same response of like, "That's ridiculous. I'll never be able to do that. That's unachievable."
Okay, so let me ask you this then, Part. Does Matthews pass Ovechkin then? Does that
No,
happen?
he's way too much of a Band-Aid. Way too much of a Band-Aid. I mean, I know Ovi lost out on like a season and a half during lockouts and stuff, but they're just not built the same.
No one's touching 895 now. Ovechkin is a specimen. There's no one catching that.
So name at the top of your head each what stat in sports is not going to be touched.
Gretzky's point total. Easy.
Okay.
Yeah, Gretzky's point total, probably Braun scoring point total as well. Yeah. What does he have, like 42, 43 thou?
Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe
so it's number 1, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's Super Bowls. Probably not going to get touched ever.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Gretzky's assist total, too, will never get touched. Ever,
yeah, no doubt.
Is it fair to say that Ovechkin's goal total will never get touched? Now that we said Gretzky's goal total will never be touched. No,
I think somebody will do it.
Ovechkin is going to play for another year after this year.
Ovechkin's point total?
No, goal total.
Oh, goal total? No.
I don't think anyone's going to touch Ovechkin's goal total because he still has another year, if not 2, unless he retires after this year, which I don't think he'll do. Even if they won a cup, I don't think he retires. He still comes back another year, and he might get 950 in his career, maybe 1,000, right? Maybe, depends how long he plays, right?
If you're Ovi, you've been arguably the best team in the National Hockey League this year in terms of consistency next to Winnipeg. You've accomplished the feat. Wouldn't he not just retire after this year?
Would you?
Go coach in Russia? I would, 100%.
You would? I would.
He's got a cup. He's got multiple rockets. His shelf is littered with trophies. At some point, a player sticks around and is like, I want to win a cup, right? The vets that just never quite made it go to a contending team. Obi's done it all. He should lace him up. He should hang him up and go coach somewhere in Russia or get, what's his son's name? Get his son maybe to potentially get the record.
36 first overall pick. Calling it now.
Boom. Lock it in.
I think somebody will catch the goal total just because you see the ebbs and flows of goal scoring go up. And right now we're at a pretty good time for goal scoring when it comes to it. And I mean, if you look at the games played total, at the same point in his career, Austin Matthews has more goals than Ovechkin does in the same amount of games. So it's not impossible. I don't think this is as untouchable as like Gretzky's point total is.
That's never getting touched.
I think Ovi plays out his contract and then plays in Russia for maybe like a year or two. I really think that's something he's going to do. I don't think he's going to go right to coaching. I don't even know if he will coach. I don't know if he strikes me as a coach kind of guy.
Is he going to pull a Yager and just play till he's like 65?
No. I think he's just going to do like a good thing for like his home country and like go boost ticket sales and stuff like that and go play like a year or two in front of his friends and family. And then I think he'll call it at that.
That's nice. I like that. Good picks. So you did your social clip, Cart. So we got that out. Parr, any final thoughts for Top Shelf before we wrap up the segment?
No, I don't think so. I just hey, let's hope that the Leafs finish first. Ottawa finishes in the wild card, and I get to go watch a really cheap playoff game when I buy tickets before it's announced.
And then I get to live in my thousands era where I watch Toronto beat the Ottawa Senators.
Avoid the Panthers, Battle of Florida. They can beat up on each other. All right?
Agreed.
Changed my mind.
Couldn't agree more, my friends. Love it. Another week of Top Shelf, another week of great content and being around you guys. Love it. Thank you for your patience while waiting for Chuck a Puck to finish. But I'm not done the show yet. I still got a solo segment coming up, and it's about someone signing a very long-term contract in Toronto. Yeah.
More Freudian slips coming up with Dave McCaig.
Love it. You should be my intro guy every time. Love it.
No, I'm just joking, buddy. Thanks for having us.
Yes, of course. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for all you do, boys.
Of course.
Cheers.
We'll be right back here on the Game Sports Podcast. We come back. Yeah, I'm talking about that payday about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but they finally did it. They paid the man. I've been saying that for 12 months, and they did it. And boy, did they ever do it. We'll be right back here on the Game Sports Podcast. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. David McCaig Jr. continuing to host you this evening here on the Game Sports Podcast. This is the third segment of tonight's episode. Again, the game is powered by 91 Network and featured on the 91 Network YouTube channel and also through Spaces, which is Village Media and Sue Today. You can follow us on any platform as well. On this third segment, it is just going to be yours truly going solo, and it is going to be featured around a strike zone segment. Connor would be not able to join us this evening, unfortunately, due to schedule conflict, but I am just going to be getting into one area of topic, and it's about Pay the Man, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and I will have a little bit of feedback about March Madness at the end before we wrap up the show, so make sure you stay tuned for that very brief reaction, mind you. But I'm going to dive into something that obviously rocked the country of Canada, obviously rocked the city of Toronto, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signed his extension, $100 million, 14 years, locking himself up as a Toronto Blue Jay, essentially for his career. And he also has a very hefty signing bonus in there. And as per Bleacher Report, $325 million of the deal is in a signing bonus, while $175 million is paid in salary. Ken Rosenthal is where this came from through the Athletics, Ken Rosenthal. He added that both the signing bonus and salary will be distributed in varying amounts over the 14-year term of the deal. Again, as per Bleacher Report. Look, Guerrero has said, quote unquote, trust God. My dad told me to trust God and to get the last penny that I could from the organization. And he did that with a smile. And he said that that was the advice that he got from his father. And to make sure that he gets paid his value. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. wanted to stay in the city of Toronto. He wanted to play for the Toronto Blue Jays. He wants to win here. He has voiced that. He plays like that. His attitude's like that. And he's deserving of this money. His contract is in the upper thresholds of Soto and Ohtani. Okay, guys that are getting paid big bucks. Is he Ohtani and Soto? Look, Ohtani can play both positions. I think Ohtani is priceless, okay? Soto, I thought that was pretty hefty of an amount, but it is Juan Soto, one of, if not the best players in the game. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has cemented himself, given how he's played the last few years, how he's a slugger, one of the best hitters. He's a Gold Glove first baseman. The guy can play defense. He can shift over to third. This is somebody that you can build your team around. And when you're Toronto, a city and a team that has seen a lot of players when it comes to baseball, basketball, even hockey, unless you're Matt Sundin, has been traded or has walked to other teams. And to be able to have someone stay and show their loyalty is going to be pivotal to the team's success going forward for direction on wanting to win. It's going to be pivotal for Bo Bichette's re-signing, who I think the Jays should re-sign. Speaking as a media expert and a fan, one of the best hitters in the game when healthy is Bo Bichette. The guy can get on base. They have talent coming up. They signed Anthony Santander. They got a good pitching rotation. It's a division that actually could be more wide open than what we maybe predicted earlier in the season, despite the juggernauts of the division maybe being the Orioles, Red Sox, or even considered the Yankees. The Jays have a chance to win this division. And as they can visualize to do so, this is a team, by signing Vlad, has shown that their determination to lock up and show loyalty to their players as well as win. And I'm going to get to the management in a minute, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is deserving of that money. Pay the man. They did pay him, and I am excited. I was excited when they signed him. Finally, it happened. Look back at previous episodes of the show. I even have a few titles, one in particular called Pay the Man, and they did months later. And I did mention on that show, $500 million or more, pay the man, and that's what happened. I ain't going to sit here and say I told you so, but it's so true. It's true. The value that got it over was that $500 million mark. And if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. could continue to grow his maturity, and if the Blue Jays can win, that will pay in itself just by fans selling out the Rogers Center every night. And now this shows that the Blue Jays are built to try to focus on winning and be the team that everyone wants them to be. But now that transforms this team to be more of a destination team. That's what I'm trying to say with Vladimir being there. Yeah, they didn't get Ohtani or Soto. But other players, as they want to sign, with Vlad being there, hopefully Bichette resigning, Santander, players being there on the offense, pitching Barrios, having this team and really attracting by showing the fan base that can really be at the ball field and what winning's like here in Canada and for the Toronto Blue Jays is going to attract players to play here. And ultimately, and the last big thing about pay is that it's right in that statement that I just said, pay. The Blue Jays organization, they have the money. Spend it, not just on your own players. Bring in blood, and you'll see not only fans being seats, but you will see a lot of glory. But unfortunately, that glory has to go through the Los Angeles Dodgers at the end of the day, a team that is going to be built to win for a while. But again, the Blue Jays right now with what they have, I don't see them as a World Series winner when you give them the blueprint of the Dodgers. But I think this is a team that could make a lot of noise in the AL. And by signing Vlad, it makes a big statement of their commitment to players and their commitment to winning. And that's very important when you're a team that's trying to bring in players as well externally via trade or signing. Speaking of that, management. Look, I'm still not sold on Atkins, Shapiro. I'm also still not sold on Schneider. Okay, I have Schneider on very, very, very thin ice, as well as the management team. But they now gained a little bit of leeway, did Shapiro and Atkins, with the re-sign of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I think they know that they have as well. But your next steps have to be to re-sign Bo Bichette and then to focus on bringing in talent to bring this team to the next step out of that wild card round, to see some playoff action, get that playoff maturity, and see where you stand as a team. Because going to face it, you're probably not winning the World Series this year. If you do, great as a Blue Jay fan. But to get that playoff experience is pivotal for the maturity of both Vlad and Bo Bichette. Getting more than that one wild card game or even one round. You want to make sure you can try to move on and get a couple rounds before you can go into this year's offseason and then really be an attractive place to play and bring in talent so you can really compete against the teams in the NL, particularly the Dodgers, in the years to come. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is that guy you can build around. He's a juggernaut in terms of an offense. His defense, he's won a Gold Glove. He can play third. You pay that guy. He is the face of your franchise, and I love to see it. And that has gained trust with the management team. I have a little bit of trust for them going forward, but they're also still on thin ice like Schneider. I still need to see them do more because it's at that window now that we, as Blue Jays fans, have been waiting to see that step forward. But as a media individual, I want to say that obviously Atkins and Shapiro bought the trust of the Blue Jays faithful, but there's still work to be done. And if I'm a Blue Jays fan, which I am, I'm being cautious about being too optimistic about what this management can do. but I am over the moon excited, and you should be too as a Jays fan, that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will be someone that will be gracing the presence for you on the TV while you're at the ball field at Rogers Center or wherever you go watch them. You'll be able to hear now batting, number 27, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Music to my ears. A lot of big names have come through in the past decade or so. The Bautista, the Encarnacion, Donaldson, St. Delgado back in the day, Doc Holliday. Guys, though, that started and finished their career here, the list is small. Vlad gets to be that guy that gets to do it. And as Blue Jays fans, that should make you excited. And he deserves a standing ovation every night at the Rogers Center because, unfortunately, in the city of Toronto, when it comes to baseball, hockey, basketball, it's very rare that you see a player start and finish their career here. To the exception of almost Matt Sundin drafted. He could trade it from Quebec over, and then he signed to Vancouver for his last year, if you want to talk hockey for a moment. But for a majority of his career, he was here. But to have start to finish, loyalty. And I'm glad that I've always gotten this jersey for a couple years. Glad that he's re-signed as a fan, as a media sports podcast host. The Blue Jays did fantastic. I'm clapping as you hear. Guerrero re-signs 14 years, $500 million. And now the chips are still on your side. Shapiro and Atkins, start buying in more. And then you know what? I will let go of the reins. I will ease back on the trust issues that I have, as will the Blue Jays faithful. In terms of baseball, it's been a great start to this season. Very excited. Still too early to really get into the whole dissection of it, because if you want to talk, everyone's only played about 11, 12-ish games. Okay, but obviously the Angels are off to a hot start, which is great to see. A team that's struggling is the Braves, 2-8 out of the gate at this time of recording. Yikes. The Padres, 10-3. The Dodgers, 9-4 after a hot start. Look, they're beatable. Padres looking great, but it's still early in the season. We've got 150 games to go. Still a lot to go here. Not going to dive into that. I just want to stick to the Vladimir Guerrero signing for this closing portion of the show. Thank you very much, Vlad. And I can't believe I'm saying this. Thank you very much to the Jays organization as a fan speaking that. But even as a sports podcast host, another big piece of baseball content to talk about. But we'll see how this season goes and how that contract ages. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is obviously slated to retire a Blue Jay. And 14 years from now, if I'm still doing the show, been doing it for 8 now, that will put me at over 20 years of doing the show. I'll be interested if I can play back this clip and see what the reaction is and what the history is with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I'll have to make sure that I do that. Quick thing about March Madness. Look, I'm a Duke fan. Duke blew it. I had someone say if Coach K was there, would that have happened? And it was supposed to be a joke, but it's not. I'm not blaming coaching. Okay, but when I see a team let up, I do have a lot of pointing against coaching because it's their responsibility to make sure the players stay focused and keep their pedal to the metal. But Duke let their foot off the gas, and that comeback was not the Duke basketball that you should have been seeing. Cooper Flagg, weak shot at the end, bad shot to take, but he's the guy who's going to take the shot, not the final shot, the one that led over to the free throw after for Houston. Look, they didn't win. They did not win. Houston didn't. Obviously, Florida wins the national championship, deservingly so. I think they're a very good team. I think Duke would have had a very hard time even if they were in the finals for that. But ultimately, I wanted to say on Duke that it was a very unfortunate loss, but the March Madness was so exciting. I can't believe it's already over. We're in April already. Yikes. But Florida, the Gators, get their national championship, and congratulations to Florida. I would love to know how they did on their bracket. Let me know below how you did on your bracket. You don't even want to know how mine was. Even though I did have Duke winning, my bracket was done very early. Let's just say that, along with a lot of other people's. This has been the Game Sports Podcast. We talked Chuck a Puck, where we talked OHL, the OHL Draft. A lot of focus towards the Greyhounds, of course, because of where we're located. But ultimately, full major junior coverage. Top Shelf, where we talked all over with the NHL. And you had me for this last segment with baseball and a little bit of March Madness cherry on the cake. I want to say thank you to Jordan Trudeau. I want to say thank you to Alex Parr, Brendan McCarthy, co-hosts on all the segments for Top Shelf, and Chuck a Puck, Trudeau with Chuck a Puck, Parr, McCarthy for Top Shelf. But I also want to give a big shout out to friend of mine, friend of the show, Team NOHA Scout, hockey, very well hockey knowledge individual, obviously a very good hockey player as well. Good friend of mine, Jaren Bellini, thank you for taking the time to come share your results about your top 100 prospects. That will be in the link below for you to check out before the draft for this upcoming Saturday for Major Junior in the OHL. Make sure you check that out and let your comments and feed all the points and reactions as you have about the OHL draft, but also his prospect list. He'll love to hear that. But I want to say thank you again to Jaren Bellini for taking the time. Again, it's been the Game Sports Podcast powered by 91 Network, featured on Spaces, which is through Today and Village Media, as well as make sure you hit like, follow, and subscribe on all the platforms of the game. Spotify, that's Instagram, that's TikTok, Facebook, Amazon Podcast, Google. Look, we are everywhere. And another special shout out to Trevor Gillies with his shirt, the Fight Story shirt. Love it. I believe you can still order it. If you can't, I'm sure he'll get one made for you if you want to reach out or let me know. Trevor Gillies was one of our first ever special edition guests, official special edition guests with myself and Brendan Brooks at the time, multiple years ago. Definitely a good episode that you can still check out as well. Again, it's been the Game Sports Podcast. David McCaig was your host here this evening. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe on all the platforms. Getting to the conclusion, and until you hear from us next week, I'm here to remind you, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, train your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.